Hey guys, welcome back to another reaction video. This is on The Verge. I did one for when BBC attacked Doki Doki Literature Club. This one's on The Verge about how to build on how to build a $2,000 gaming PC. So here we go. In 3, 2, 1.
A few years ago, TC, or Managing Editor, built a gaming desktop, but it's kind of out of date, and it's definitely not going to hold up for Battlefield 5. So, let's build a new one.
Yeah.
You can build a gaming desktop for around $1,000, but I want to go all out, so I spent around $2,000. A PC like this is going to be able to play most games at ultra settings, so what do you need to build a desktop? Well, of course, first you need a tape. Preferably not metal. If it's going to be metal, have an anti-static working surface layered on top of it, a thermal paste applicator, an Allen wrench, some tweezers to tighten up the wires, a Swiss...
Yes, tweezers, like really? What would you call as cable ties, man? Oh my god.
Army knife, which hopefully has a Phillips head screwdriver in it, and last but not least, an anti-static...
A Swiss Army knife with a Phillips head screwdriver. Like what? That's just saying. You just get a screwdriver. God.
Bracelet, which is to protect you and the part.
That is definitely not an anti-static bracelet. That's not connected to the table. Like what?
These are the parts you're going to need. But more importantly, before we get there, we need to understand what these parts are doing and how they interact with one another. To better understand the parts that make up a desktop, let's try to understand them individually. The processor is like the computer's brain, a base of calculations that control everything the computer does. The motherboard is like the foundation, serving as a main structure for all other parts to be added to. It also allows the other parts to communicate with one another, which also makes it kind of like a nervous system. Graphics cards are responsible for rendering and processing visuals into what you see on screen. Our PC's power supply is of course channeling electricity, in that it adjusts and provides the right amount of energy to keep it running. Last but not least, RAM, or random access memory, and your hard drive are good examples of short-term and long-term memory, respectively. If you want to better understand what kind of computer to build, then first figure out what you want to use it for. A gamer might care more about a graphics card than, say, a video editor, who might want extra RAM to assist with editing large files. If you're building a budget build for video streaming, say, other part, but also don't screw in too hard, otherwise you could crack the building by adding the motherboard in. Some notes about installing motherboards: they're really delicate, you should be really careful with them, and screw in with confidence, but also don't screw in too hard.
Screw in with confidence? What the hell?
Otherwise you could crack the board. I chose Asus's Z370 motherboard for two main reasons. One, it has built-in Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, and also it has support for NVMe SSDs, meaning you can get really fast SSDs that are really easy to install. Pay close attention to the brace that goes at the back of the computer. You always have to make sure that you really hammer
the brace. It's called an IO shield for a reason, dude.
It really just has to go outside of the case and clasp onto the frame. And this is very important because otherwise you can't align the motherboard correctly with the holes.
The back plate of the IO shield, a brace. It's the IO shield back plate.
So next we're going to install the RAM on the motherboard. I chose Corsair's 16GB Vengeance LED RAM for two main reasons. One, it has LEDs and we do like lights in our gaming desktops. Secondly, it's pretty fast RAM. It's 2666 megahertz, I believe, so it's pretty fast, and this motherboard supports that speed, which is most important. Open the slots first, and just aligning the stick with the middle of the strip, not with the end, and just lining that up with the logo. So once you hear that solid clasp and you don't see the gold connectors on the side anymore, that's when you know the RAM is in. Step 3, we're going to install the hard drive, or in this case, the NVMe SSD. I chose this format of solid-state drive so that I could input it into the motherboard without having to worry about extra wires or putting it in a separate part of the case and just getting really messy. This is from Kingston, and it's 480 gigabytes, so it's not a lot, but you can always upgrade this and swap it out, and it's only held down by one screw and the latch, so it's really simple and really straightforward. Speed for gaming is important when it comes to a hard drive. You want files to write quickly, and you want games to load quickly, so that's why it's best if you use an SSD. Okay, so step 4, we're going to install the graphics card. I chose PNY, always upgrade to the motherboard that solid clasp, and you don't see the gold connectors on the side anymore. That's when you know the RAM is in. Step 3, we're going to by one screw, PX1080. Which spots that you haven't used? insulating pads. So the power supply time. I chose Corsair's 850 watt power supply because I need enough
skipping
headroom for
through
ray
this,
tracing
but like,
GPUs when
oh
they come
my
out,
god,
and I don't want to have
put
to
the
upgrade
RAM,
them
look.
quickly. Or in this case, the end lining that up with the logo. So once open the slots first, and just aligning the stick with the middle of the strip, not with
So you
the
put
end,
it,
and
the
just
first slot is
lining
correct, but
that up with the logo.
as soon as you put the
So
second
once
card,
you hear
the
that
second
solid
slot
clasp
RAM
and you
in.
don't see the gold connectors on the side anymore, that's when you know the RAM is in. Step 3, we're going to speed for gaming is IP's little insulating pad headroom for ray tracing GPUs when they come out, and I don't want to have to upgrade it again. So all you have to do is take the brick and make sure
yeah, you call the power supply a brick. Really? It's a power supply.
that you align
It's
it
the term
with
for
these
it.
little insulating pads so the power supply doesn't short circuit and come into contact with the rest of the system.
Yeah, short circuit. Yeah, that's not happening.
So just take it in,
what the hell are you
slide it
saying,
in nice
man?
and easy until you have a snug fit, and then shift it to the back and make sure it's right up against the frame. Now you just take the required screws and you tighten and screw in.
Like, what the
So
hell,
next step,
dude?
we're going to install the CPU core. In this case, it's going to go on the top end of the case, and we're just going to have in perfectly, and we're going to start screwing it in. And so there's nothing special about this screwing in process. They're just really long screws because they go through the entire frame of the cooler.
He's using the wrong screws as well. That's not. You just use the small
And they
ones.
take forever.
Oh my god.
So next up, cables. Every power supply is going to
Yeah, there's
come
no.
with a big
Wait, and
bag
you didn't even
of
put the
Velcro
fans
cable.
in. Oh my god.
It's
First, before you
kind of
slip
daunting
it.
at first, so you always have to find the ones that are going to fit.
This guy,
In this
seriously.
case, you need to match those cables with the correct descriptions on
Is
the
he
power
really gonna
supply.
put? Oh my god.
The next step is we're connecting the power supply to the motherboard with a 24-pin cable. We're just matching that cable from the motherboard, threading it through the back, and attaching the 24-pin header to the
This
power
is the most
supply.
cringe
So one of the connections
PC build
complete.
video ever.
The next two
Verge.
additions will
God
be
damn
for
it.
the GPU, for any specific ports that the case has, for any lighting that the case has, the CPU cooler,
Like, seriously, dude.
anything else really. We're installing the CPU, the heart of the computer or the brain, depending on how you look at it. So to do this, we're just going to remove the plastic covering that they put on the motherboard. We're just going to take this little plastic part out. Just toss that out of here.
Yeah, you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to keep that for RMAs.
And now we have an exposed CPU holder, or rather slot,
Hold on, CPU holder. It's called a socket for a reason,
on the
dude.
motherboard. And we're going to use the CPU applicator. This is a special little part that not everyone may get, but this motherboard that we got from ASUS definitely does have. It's called a CPU installation tool. It makes it really useful if you want to install
realize how easy
a
it-
Core i7 hexa-core CPU. Yeah, we've got one, and it's an 8th generation chip, and it's ready to go, and it supports overclocking. So what having this little installer does for you is it's basically an apply thermal paste, and then so we're about to apply thermal paste to the CPU. Every CPU cooler actually comes with a bit of thermal paste.
That's good because I don't know
already
why you're
neatly
applying
applied
even
in a
more
circle
thermal
around
paste.
it,
Are you crazy?
but it's usually not enough. It's good, essentially PC building
What a fail.
practice to have a little bit extra and layer
What
it
is he
on top
doing?
of the CPU. The
He's
final
in like, I think
portion is to add the CPU cooler to the top end of the processor. So you're going to see that there are 4 brackets.
yeah, see, you installed the RAM wrong. See, that's not like OMG. That's not how you install the RAM, man. It's supposed to be one here and then third down from the second slot.
Or rather like screws in here with brackets and motors right here. And they're going
Seriously?
to keep the cooler raised off the processor, but it's also going to be close enough to actually physically come in contact with it, but basically keep it cool. Take thumb screws like this and just screw them on. So now that our internals are done, we're going to put all the panels back on, which is the top glass, side glass, front glass, and of course the back panel where all of this fun stuff is happening. So we fully built the PC.
That's what? Hold on, what?
So we fully built the
Hold on, what the hell? That's not. Like, did this guy even cable manage? Oh my god.
PC. Everything's put together, and we got to the
This is
post
how you
screen.
not to build a PC.
So what's next? Well, you need a USB flash drive with your Windows
So that's the end. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that, and I'll see you guys next time.